Hey, First Church families, how are you? I am here today with Hannah Klein. Hannah is our parenting coach and educator. She facilitates our monthly Let's Connect meetings. We didn't do a Let's Connect this month because adding one more thing to December's calendar felt almost impossible, and that led Hannah and I to talk about how crazy December can be, especially when you are raising young children. And so I said, hey, instead of having an actual meeting, let's get together and chit chat for a little bit about how you manage the merriment and mayhem of this season when you are also parenting young kiddos. Ooh, got any tips for us?
Oh goodness, yes. I think just kind of, firstly, a good thing to remember is that our kids are so young. You know, if your kids are at this school, then they are young children. And one thing to think about is to kind of like zoom out and think long term, that there may be things that you grew up doing that you loved and you want to do with your children, but maybe you are older and you're trying to kind of push those things on your kids now, and maybe they're not working because your kids get overwhelmed, especially if you have toddlers. So just to kind of remember that there are going to be more Christmases to do those kinds of things. We don't have to cram it all in when our kids are 1, 2, 3 years old. Our kids are really the things they're going to remember about this time, if anything at all. I mean, definitely when they're 4 and 5 years old, is how they felt, the connection, not the perfectly curated activities and parties. And that's hard because I know we get all of these messages as parents about what our holiday season should look like. And I think that adds a lot of stress and a lot of mental load to our already, heavy load. And so I think one way to kind of push back against that is to really be intentional. And what that can look like is just spending a few minutes thinking about what you want the rest of the month of December to look like for your family. It doesn't have to look like your best friend's families or your sister's family or whatever that might be. But to just think about what are those traditions, and maybe pick 5. Maybe pick 1, whatever you can handle. What are those few traditions that really mean the most to me, mean the most to my partner, mean the most to my kids? Ask your kids. What do you remember about last year? What means the most to you? What do you want us to do as a family? Because when we don't ask, we assume and we try to create all the fun and the perfection and the merriment, right?
Yeah.
We try to muster it and create it, and then we get frustrated when maybe our kids don't appreciate it as much as we think they should. But we just haven't asked. Maybe it's usually something really simple with kids.
Yeah.
It's those in-between moments where we're getting down on the floor and we're entering their world rather than, this and that holiday event. So just setting some intentions, and then whatever doesn't fall in those intentions, saying no to if you can.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't have to do all the things. Despite the messages you might be getting, the 25 things you must do in Knoxville to have a good Christmas. All of those things, they're great, and I understand, they give some really great ideas, but do not feel like you have to do all of those things, especially in this busy season of life with young children. It's already incredibly busy and stressful, and so just adding more to your plate can often just lead to resentment rather than actually enjoying each other. That's what it comes down to.
I so wish that you had been part of my life when I was raising young children. My kids now are mostly grown, and a couple of years ago I realized that I was so overwhelmed because we had created traditions, and every year it felt like we added something new, and I couldn't let anything go. And suddenly I'm like, I have 27 things that I have to do on Christmas morning, and we have to be in matching pajamas. And what I realized is really all my kids wanted was to just be together in the crazy world. Sometimes just sounds cliche, but being present actually is the present. So,
Right, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Awesome advice.
Yeah.
We will be back with Let's Connect in January. Our January meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 21st at 5:30 here in the Parish House. We hope you guys can join us. More information coming about the topics for Let's Connect in the second semester after we get back from Christmas. Hannah and I both wish you a very, very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.